Hey everybody, P.A. Turner, executive producer and host of your Break It Down show, bringing you our guest for the day. Her name is Neardey Trinh, and John Leon Guerrero and I joined up with her to talk about their movie, In the Life of Music, which you definitely should watch. It's a movie that comes out of Cambodia. It is in subtitles, so you can take it. It's really good. It's a beautiful story about music and love during the time of the killing fields, during the Khmer Rouge era. So the story in the background is this tumult that's coming, that's there, and how it inhabits these villagers and their lives. And it's just a gorgeous, gorgeous movie, and I know you'll love it. There's actually... some of these songs that don't necessarily come from America that break out around the world, they're covered by everybody. That Girl from Ipanema comes to mind. And then there's this song, Champa Battambang, and that's my best attempt at saying it correctly. This song has been recorded by hundreds of people. It's one of the most covered songs of all time, and yet you've likely never heard it. And so it's sort of the main backdrop, and the musician who wrote this song is one of the central characters in this powerful, powerful movie. I know you're going to love it. By the way, Neardey, when she and her partner made this movie, this is their first movie. Neardey's a mom of 4 kids, a veteran who works for the government doing computer security. And in her spare time, she does the impossible and gets this movie, an international movie that's nominated to be in the pool. So Cambodia nominates it for the Oscars for international movies. They don't advance out of that round, but Cambodia, they pick, like, this is our movie of the year that we're going to pick to go up. And then they pick 10 movies from all the different countries. Anyhow, that's the level of movie you're talking about here. One of the best movies of the year. I loved it. And you can get it on Amazon, among other places. Look in the show notes. You'll see the link for it. That's always a great way to support the show. Speaking of supporting the show, I love Audible. I just got to tell you, this is 100% real. I was just listening to Audible a little while ago, the Michael Caine heist series, like a limited series about different crimes and heists, and he narrates these stories, and it's just wonderful. So if you're going to get Audible for somebody else or get Audible for yourself, definitely know that I think you should. It's fantastic. I love it. It's one of the ways that I get through a lot of the books that I have to get through to entertain these different authors that we have on the show. So go to breakitdownshow.com, click on the link for one of the Audible options that you like, or in general, if you're going to get something from Amazon, hey, let me know. I'll send you a link, and you will be able to support one another. Okay, one more thing I want to talk about, and that's the Save the Brave, savethebrave.org. What we do is we try to help veterans want to stay alive through their battle with PTSD. And let me tell you, it helps. It works. And once again, someone 2 layers out from me died. They chose to end it. And this happens all of the time. I get the word of it either indirectly or directly from someone that I know, and then it continues to happen. So just because it's not in the news every day doesn't mean that there isn't someone getting ready to call it quits. So let us help these people, and the best way you can support us is time, money, attention. If you've got an old boat you want to get rid of, we'll take it. If you got property, you're like, I just got to get this property off my hands, we'll take it. Stock options, we'll take it. Cash, whatever it is. Save the Brave, savethebrave.org. Now, here comes Neardey Trinh.
Lions Rock Productions.
This is Jay
This
Moore.
is Greg Proops.
This is Jordan Harbinger.
This is Dexter from The Offspring.
This is Nathan
This is
East.
Sebastian Younger.
This is Rick
This
Marotta.
is Stuart Copeland.
This is Mick Gillette.
This is Andy Summers.
Hey, this is Skunk Baxter.
This is Gabby Reese.
This is Rob Bell.
Hey, this is John Leon Guerrero.
Hey, and this is Pete A. Turner.
Hi, I'm Neardey Trinh, and you're watching The Break It Down Show.
I pre-apologize, Neardey, and if I ever say Tran, and if I say, your name is one of those ones where I'm trying to get it to stick in my head, and we already talked about my inability to say a lot of the words correctly, so pre-apologies, doing my best here. But you, and also we're all very lucky to capture you live on video. I know that you don't dig this, so I appreciate you hulking up and being a badass, because you are one. Also, not that we're going to put the Letterman jacket on to get into this stuff, but you're a veteran, I'm a veteran. It's always good to have fellow veteran creators on the show. I love that. But let's get in and talk about this movie that you've produced. It's gorgeous. It's called In the Life of Music, and it's you guys put a lot of emotion in there into that movie, and it's just remarkable. I just thanks so much for making it and letting me get a chance to screen it. What a hell of a movie.
Thank you. No, it's definitely one that's very important to a lot of us, especially from people from my generation,
Hmm.
and the past generations that have lived through it. And so it's a special one for all of us that was involved with the video, the film.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, in Western sense and Hollywood sense, we might know five facts about Cambodia, especially we might know the words Khmer Rouge or whatever, probably say them wrong,
Yeah.
but that's it. That's where our knowledge stops. And I know bad things are happening in the movie, but I'm just mouth agape the entire time as we see these stories play out.
Well, I so Caylee, as you know, she couldn't make. Caylee's the director, and she's also the co-writer for the story. And um, she w- when she developed it. Okay, I think I just lost my train of thought. What was the last thing that you said
Uh,
again? I'm like, I think I started on this story and then I forgot what I was going
well,
to say.
it was just about, our Western lack of knowledge about a lot of places,
Oh, okay, yeah,
yeah. So,
got it. No, what I said was she wrote it intentionally to not focus on the that the violence and it was there, it was still there. It is to teach a little bit of history
yeah.
about Cambodia, but she really wanted to focus on the music and the song and how it really impacted, and lived through the people during that time and after, and how the music kind of continued to resonate in all of their lives. So it was focused on the music using that backdrop of the war and family.
Yeah, there's
Um,
really nary any violence in the movie at all, but it's alluded to. It's very Hitchcockian. A lot of things happen off screen, and you're just held by what is happening. People disappear and they don't come back. A look of an
yeah,
eye, and that someone is going to pay a price. And yeah,
I,
I loved that the violence was not, and it wasn't a war movie. It was about surviving. You
yeah.
know, the,
It's about music. It's about
it is.
introducing the culture in Cambodia during the 60s, during the 70s, and even coming back in the 2000s, kind of, as a first or not even first generation. She was born in Cambodia, and came to the United States. So that later generation, connecting all of them together. And it was definitely focused on the music and how it affected them. But I know that there's going to be some comparison to other movies, and there's not a lot of films out there about the killing fields, the killing fields, and even Angelina Jolie's movie, First They Kill My Father, where it was made differently. So we didn't want to be compared to that, and plus there's a lot of history and there's a lot of other depth to that war that many people lived it through, that's not taught, even worldwide is not taught. And there's so much to it that I just don't think that you can focus in one movie, um really the dynamics of what happened in that genocide. So and that's what we weren't trying to do that. So that's
Right.
why it was, we focused on other things.
And it is about music, but just a little bit about my background. I spent a lot of time in the villages in Iraq and Afghanistan. And so I can appreciate that look at who the villages are. When you live in a little hamlet and how everybody was sister, brother, uncle, it was family. And they looked out for each other. And a little kid could run around the streets and be safe
Yeah.
because we were all looking out for each other. And then, yeah, music comes to town and this wonderful song. I mean, it's just.
Hmm.
It for me especially was really powerful to see that, and then outside influences can come in and change what looked like a very beautiful, peaceful, hard but worthwhile life. And
Yeah.
the musical thread was, it was excellent.
Yeah, they did a great job. One of the things that we wanted to do was, as you've seen, like it's sung many, many times by different people in their own rendition. And then even now they have, like, you can Google like the song and you can see different people sing it, and it's actually pretty cool. It's very it has that, like, I don't know if I can explain, or maybe you can explain to describe the type. It's got a mixture of stuff because that during that time, Sinn Si Samouth was what was no he was like um the Elvis of
Yes.
Cambodia, right? He was so popular, and they were exploring the other types of music, and so that he brought that kind of um I'm not a musician, so I might not use the right terminology and stuff to describe the music, but certain beats and certain, those rhythms, that was a little bit different during that time. So, and I think people love that.
This is a
So
perfect place for John to talk about it because John's from Guam and you guys do this exact same thing, John, right? Like you guys will play Girl from Ipanema and put your own spin on it, whatever.
Yeah, I mean the thing is the song was accessible to Western ears in a lot of ways that a lot of Asian music is not, or at least a lot less so. And the melody is, something that grabs you. I mean, that song is a hit
yeah,
anywhere.
it really, I don't know if you've seen the movie enough, but like after you watch it, not even just one time, you start humming it in your.
Yeah.
It's literally in your head
Yes.
Uh-huh.
for days, and I'll just have this, and yeah, it's beautiful song, and even the lyrics, and we try to share that in the film.
Mhm.
It's a lot of our parents, at least my parents, and aunts and uncles, and who grew up in the 60s and 50s, born in the 40s and 50s, and who was raised with this musician. So it's a very special song for a lot of people. And the words, which we put in the film that you can see, it's that love that you have for home. Like, Battambang is it's a city. So I don't know if you know, it's a city in Cambodia. A lot of people from there. It's a very big town. And it just talks about going back and having that love for where you came from.
Yeah.
So
That
yeah.
Well, and everybody can relate to that. I mean,
Yeah.
it's almost like, as I was thinking about what Western equivalent we have to that song, it's almost like a cross between, it's a little bit, poppy and relatable, like La Bamba, and
Yeah.
homesicky, like New York, New York. I mean, it's just got so much going for it.
Yeah.
And everybody can attach to it. And the amazing thing that I found was, if you search YouTube for the song, how many other people have covered it.
Yeah,
yes.
there's a lot, and it's so there's this one, and we do have it in the film where it's and I don't actually have the name of her. I should know her name, but she does a slower version, and
Mhm.
even Sinn Si Samouth's granddaughter, she released her version of the song as well. And I've seen other people that did it where they brought like more, like they did like an acoustic guitar and just playing it. Yeah, it's just it's crazy. It's amazing how they can just do their own rendition, to make it more even modern. I always wonder. I was like,
Yep.
can we mix it with like an American version?
Yeah. But it does have a lot of American influence too. I mean, you can hear the
Yeah.
Beatles in it. You can hear other,
Yes.
elements, and that's what made. And say his name again because you said his name very appropriately but
Cincy.
quick. Say it again.
Cincy Samut.
Sinn Si Samouth.
So
Yeah,
Sin is the first, and then Cincy Samut is the last name.
and he wrote. He was a prime musician at the time. I
Oh
was
yeah,
thinking
he is.
so good at writing songs. I wanted to say this too, John, when you were talking about like what other kind of songs came to mind, and this is a bit corny, but I think it's this it's right. Is the song from Eurovision, that song about Husavik, and they're singing about their hometown, and it's just gorgeous. Granted, it's a corny comedy film, but when she sings about home, you're moved by it, and how gorgeous it is for them and what it means. And any of those songs about home can be so many things. It can be longing, it can be
Yeah.
love, it can be so many things. And so
Oh
so
yeah.
yeah.
Like if you like, what is it, the American song that Country Road, Take Me
Hmm.
Home, West
Yeah.
Virginia, like that.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if it's an East Coast thing, or cuz and I'm from Virginia, so our backdrop is the Blue Ridge Mountains. And so when we sing that song, like there's a lot of meaning to it for us here. I don't know if people in on the West Coast might feel the same, but it's kind of, it's the same thing. It's when something takes you back to home, there's that comfort,
John
and
Denver
that's
has
what.
power over every one of us. It does
Yeah.
not matter where you're from.
I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
I was, when I was a kid, I was originally from Guam, but I moved to California when I was 5. But the first record, I mean, I'm a musician, so
Okay.
the very first recording of me is me singing that song at age 4.
Oh,
Country
oh my!
Road, Take Me Home.
I love
Yeah.
that song. My
So I
kids
have an
love that
attachment
song.
to it, of course.
Yeah, it's
And
it's a great song.
yeah, and it's about home. Even though
Yeah,
it's about West Virginia, it's about everybody's home.
yeah. It's
So
I
I think we all can relate that way.
Yeah, it's the number one karaoke song. We always play it at least twice. It's the And by the way, I've been to Guam before. So
All right.
I was stationed in Japan. Oh God, this is like 20 years ago. So 20 years ago, I was in Japan, and we pulled into Guam a few times.
To get gas.
Um, yeah, I mean, I was there for like we were there for like a week. It was gorgeous. I got off the ship, and I was in the Navy, by the way. Got off the
Okay.
ship. I went and checked myself into the Marriott, and like just spent a little vacation out there. It's beautiful. Very small, but like, oh, it's so
Yeah.
nice. The water is gorgeous. I
Yeah,
loved it.
it's nice there. Um, let's I could talk about that all day, but let's talk about some of the challenges that you faced making this film. What was it like, from the very beginning, the concept of the film, and the first thing, of course, is always raising the money,
Money.
getting people to, getting people behind you.
Um, yeah, okay, so I have an interesting story to tell. Like, so Caylee, who's my partner, she's
Mhm.
the other producer plus also director and the writer. She went to Cambodia, and she came back, and she said, "Hey, you and this guy, I met this guy. He did this short film for $5,000, and it was like 30 minutes." And so she just graduated from film school with a master's in directing. We didn't really venture. We had a script that was like budgeted for like 2 million. We couldn't get it funded. So this one, she's like, "Oh, what if we did 3 stories?" And so this is where you can see how it developed. 3 stories. Um, and make it like a short film, but we'll put it together. What if we did it for 5,000 each? And so she's like, so let's say a $20,000. I was like, oh, 20,000. I could raise 20,000. Like, and so the story hadn't even developed yet. Like, she started developing the script, and I'm over here, kind of new to film, but I have background in business, so I developed a business plan, all that kind of stuff. I did some pitches even without a script, just like a package of the project.
Mhm.
Um, I got 40,000. Like, I was like, "Hey, Kaylee, I got 40,000. I think we're good." Yeah.
I
So,
think we're good.
I
Uh-huh.
think we're good. And I'm still, so like, this is, now we're about 4 months into when the concept started. I got 1,000. We're rolling. We're like, okay, we're starting to develop now, making plans to go to Cambodia. The script finally starts developing more. So by September, because she didn't leave yet. She goes, so we're partnering with in the production company in Cambodia. We
Okay.
already, signed with them, everything. And so she said, she came back, and she's like, so it's not going to be 40. She's like, we're looking at maybe, I think around 80 now. And I was like, are you kidding me? Like, what? I'm like, what do you mean? Like, at this point, we already booked tickets to Cambodia. We've got people on the ground. Like,
Right.
October. So I'm moving. I was like, okay, I've got $40,000 in the bank, and I thought it was good. So now it's moving to 80. So by the time November hit, it was like 150 at that point. Like, it just kept adding. But we didn't, I mean, in my head as a producer, I was like, no, we're doing this. I was like, we're, I just, that was the biggest challenge, I think. And I didn't know how to stop. Like, I didn't know, I didn't have an alternative to stop. Let's just say that. I was going to make it happen. So
All right.
I kept on going, and I pitched, I pitched, I pitched. I had a script. Um, I found some people. So by the time December hit, Kaylee's already over in Cambodia, by the way. I sent her there in November. They're doing location scouting with the money that we have, and other things, and paying what we can. So I think it hit closer to about 200,000. And I won't go into those details, but by December, and maybe 2 weeks before we started shooting in January. So that's about a year from concept. which is usually it's actually pretty fast if you
Yeah.
so but I had to do it. I was like, we're already going. I can't stop now. I got the money in the bank, transferred it over to the bank in Cambodia, so with our production there. So that went. So we got through to the production, and I mean, this is more from the business side of trying to get it going. Although, after that, it did cost more for post production and stuff like that, and I eventually got that too. Um, but yes, that was the big thing. Caylee has her own challenges on the creative side, and I mean, as far as the talent, like she did, but they did an amazing job. Like with the guys that they end up getting, I mean, the biggest was we got Ellen. Ellen wanted to be part of it, and that's another challenge. I've never worked with SAG before, so that was a challenge from in itself.
Yeah.
But Ellen wanted to do it. We wanted her to do it. We went up and down talking with the SAG guys, negotiating stuff and finally, and it was harder because it's in international filming, and
Right.
so a lot of the policies and stuff that go with her was different, but that worked out as well. But Caylee, they had to, between Caylee and Visal's the other director, so they did casting in Cambodia. So these guys didn't have experience. Most of them, actually, I think 100% of them didn't have experience. They coached them. They coached them through it.
Wow.
From the little girl, they have stories to tell. You need to bring on the director because he has his own stories to tell about the whole casting and who they wanted and what they end up getting. And she did that little girl was amazing. Actually, all of them, every single one of them, and they didn't have experience. Some got casted literally the week of, and they did the runs of the lines with them and kind of the rehearsal and stuff, and they winged it.
And were these
Wow.
village folk or were these city folk that were able to act?
They were city folk. So most of them came from Phnom Penh, I think. A a majority. Some of them might have come from the other provinces. Vasal is Sok Vasal, he's the other director. Obviously, they have the production company there, and so he has his hands in a lot of stuff. He knows a lot of people, so it was good to bring him on because he's very knowledgeable about the industry over there. So that was really helpful for us because we didn't have anybody. We brought the main people, the editor, the cinematographer. Obviously, all the producers are American, but he brought the crew, the cast was all them over there.
Boots on
So
the ground.
yeah,
I just
pretty
wanted to
much.
add this.
I want to give. Go ahead, Pete.
I was saying, and this is just a quick note. One of the last producers we had on the show is the guy named Howard Bird. He made a movie with Mark S. Allen, and it's just a corny comedy, solid like 2-star, made you laugh thing. But he's like, here's the number one thing about making a movie: fundraising. It's like it doesn't stop, doesn't change.
I mean, it's
It's
I
the
mean, because
thing.
if you don't have the money, you can't do the movie.
Doesn't matter how funny
So
the movie is. Yeah, right. It's
Yeah.
fundraising. So
Well,
I just
I
wanted to
wanna
make sure I said
acknowledge,
that out
though-
loud for the audience to understand. Like that is the driving force.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's important, I think, for everybody to realize that, when you start a movie with a budget and the budget grows and the producer is able to pivot, that's hardy producing. I mean, that's the big challenge is, the coming up with the money and then all the logistical stuff that you have to do with, with your international setting, the fact that you have the mix, and then there's the talent. I mean, this is just such a tremendous piece of work, and all of the challenges that you're outlining here, I want to punctuate for our audience because, man, that's not a small undertaking.
No.
I mean, it wasn't. It was. It's a lot of challenge, and this is not even like we go into posts, and there's other the creative challenges that trying to um, it's there's a lot of little things, and we're all kind of new, right? Like this is our first film, like
Yeah,
we,
wow.
so this is our first film, so we're all kind of learning. I mean, the budget, the finances, and everything, and you're a couple 100,000 film, and you're asking somebody to put up that kind of money. It sounds small, but it's not. Like it's still a lot. Like for it's a lot of learning. So we're like learning on the fly. So
Well, the thing
but
about making a $200,000 movie is you're asking people to put up that money, but it's not that much money for making a movie. So really, up and down the whole the entire title sequence, as you watch the credits roll by, everybody, it's not just the people you're asking to put up the money. Every single person on that title that's scrolling by did a little more than they had, than their whatever they're credited for was. To make a movie for
Oh yeah.
$200,000,
Oh
you have
yeah.
to
No,
ask a
absolutely.
lot of everybody.
Hey, this is Pete A. Turner from Lions Rock Productions. We create podcasts around here, and if you, your brand, or your company want to figure out how to do a podcast, just talk to me. I'll give you the advice on the right gear, the best plan, and show you how to take a podcast that makes sense for you, that's sustainable, that's scalable, and fun. Hit me up at pete@breakitdownshow.com. Let me help. I want to hear about it.
To make a movie for
Oh yeah.
$200,000,
Oh
you have
yeah.
to
No,
ask a
absolutely.
lot of everybody.
We did, yes. We have. I mean, we're very fortunate that we had a lot of people to support. I mean, not just not even just the people that you see through the scrolling, our friends and family, and the multiple fundraisers. I mean, between the investors and just people that are that would do, and we're very lucky to have that.
So
So
now, as producer, did you have to play referee? Because when you talk about the creative process, once you get all the footage in the can and you bring that story back and it's time to, to put it on the flatbed. I know there's no such thing as a flatbed anymore, but figuratively speaking, when it's time to begin the editing process, did you have to play referee because you got multiple directors?
Ye- um I don't think, okay, so our director didn't, I mean, we would send him stuff to look, but once we completed everything, um
Mhm.
Kaylee goes into, we send it, we let the editor take the first shot of how, putting it together.
Okay.
So we'll go through and watch that. We'll send notes back. We'll go through. Um the We did get to a point where we actually locked the film. I watched it again. And so this is where me and Kaylee, as the two producers, the top
Oh boy.
producers, were like, I was like, something is, it's not, it's, so I'm going to, this is a little secret of what you're watching and what you could have been watching.
Uh-huh.
Originally, when it was locked, it was A, B, and C. It was like, and then I don't know if you can see that there was three different stories that was happening, right? The beginning, the war, and then the ending, the first original, how we had the story was that was Hope goes back at the end, and that's it. So you just kind of see this linear story happen, and I was like, this it's just not there. Like something is not, like, it's just like we're just watching it. There it is. There's no mystery. There's
Too on the
no,
nose.
yeah, like it's, so I we had this idea, and I'm not like a director. I don't, Kaylee can have certain pieces memorized, and like the way, in a way that I can't. All I said was, what if we took the last story about Hope and break it apart, and let's put them in between the other stories, which is what you saw. Now, I didn't tell her where to do it because that's what she gets paid for. So she will take that and she goes back to the edit. And by the way, we locked the film, and she's like, "Oh God, he's gonna kill us," because we like
Yeah.
we locked the scene. We had locked. I don't. I'm trying to think if we did the sound yet. No, we didn't do the sound. I said, you know what? It's not locked yet because we did not do the sound yet, and we can still pull it apart. So she went back and did that, and she came back and it was so much better. And I was like, oh my God, like this is it. Like this is what we needed to do. Of course, we continued to refine it, bits and pieces of it again. And finally, this is what you guys have. So you can see where we broke it apart, and it made every difference in the world for anybody that saw, version 1 and version 2. So
I am not a fan of like day in the life kind of movies when they don't do what you guys did, where it's just like the movie that won the Oscars last year, great movie, beautiful and all that stuff, but I just like, something please happen, create some tension, give me something. You
me
guys,
too. I like
yeah,
mystery. Like, give me, like, make me confused. Okay, make me confused, but don't make me too confused. Because sometimes there are those movies. Like,
yeah,
I like that mystery. I like that. I love the subtle hints of things,
yeah.
and that you go back and you're like, oh. Now, if you make me too confused, then I kind of, sometimes I just sit there like I just don't know what happened. Like something happened, but So Caylee doesn't like that chaos actually sometimes.
Well,
And she's like, I don't know. She's like, that can be really confusing for people. And I was like, I think we need this. So we went back and forth about it a little bit. And finally she's like, okay,
you
we'll
guys
just do
created
that.
some fantastic dramatic tension in that. Like, I was like, okay, there's, and I'm not trying to give the movie away. This is not a spoiler or anything, but there's a bird, and it kind of represents some things. When that bird disappears, soon it's people disappearing, and it's just the tension that was created, and you just knew things were happening, and it made me so wonderfully uncomfortable. But again, the music was there to kind of balance that out. And it really was. It was like Country Road, Take Me Home, because they were singing it all over the place. It was such a
I
part.
do. And I would, I want to ask though, because when I watch the film and I hear the music, it makes me choke up. Like I still get a little bit emotional. I don't know if it's my connection. So I don't know. I'm just curious how other people and people that are not Cambodian that might watch it, and if the music touches them that way, because I know that not just me, but definitely Cambodians that watch the film, especially since we go back into the history, and many people who has lived this, and it's a connection film between all those generations, between, because we're the last generation that either was born there and came here to America at a young age, or um we there's no one else that connected to that time period the way we're that last generation to connect. I have to teach my kids were born here, they have no idea. I mean, even me, I was born there, but I was still connected because I was born there. I grew up and I wanted to study, like I was so fascinated with like what happened, that I took it upon myself to study in college and in my master's about the Khmer Rouge. But I have to teach that with my kids because they have no idea.
I'm curious about a couple of things. First, as a producer, how much did it cost you to unlock the picture? I mean, to go back to the edit.
I mean, it was for us, like I said, people gave us a lot of discounts.
Yeah.
Let me just say that all of our favors are done. We're done.
Okay.
We've
Okay.
cashed in all of our favors. We've
Oh
paid
boy.
them what we can. And so hopefully this film makes a mark where it's gonna, when we can make some kind of a name for ourselves. So our next project, we're actually able to have a bigger budget film, and can share. But yeah, no, it didn't cost us too much. It cost us time. So that sort of, that's, I don't know how to, that's priceless. I don't know how to calculate the time, but
Yeah.
we spent so much in post. So here's the timeline. 2015 is when the concept was pitched. 2016 at the same time. So a year later, we filmed. We spent 2 months filming up until the end of March. We did pickup shots and stuff throughout, but from that point on, we we were in post, I think, for like 2 years. So I'm going to start getting jumbly now, but now we're in 2020, so 15 to 20, that's 5 years, 5.5 years. We just released.
Yeah.
So I
Wow.
mean, and people don't understand how long it takes,
Mhm.
and it's not just our film, any film, but some people might spend 2 or 3 years trying to raise the money. We didn't do that. We had the money, but we spent a lot of time in post because that took the longest. Because we had to go back to Cambodia to do the sound. Um, so we
Wow.
had it. Yeah,
What a process.
yeah.
I mean, when you have that kind of dedication to the picture, though, because there are a lot of compromises that you can make and spend less time, and it just comes down to the quality. And so the fact that you were in post that long just really meant that you had a specific thing you were trying to accomplish, that you wouldn't compromise.
No,
So
yeah, no, no, no. We won't. I mean, this is Kaylee's area of I have a lot of trust. She's very talented,
yeah.
and she'll oversee, obviously she directed and part of the story, and she oversees all of that, like the music that she pulls together everything else between, I mean, the music that they did, the score. I mean, they created all that music that you hear, that was all created from scratch. Like he remade all of that. So Kaylee would coordinate that, the editing. She's part of that. Like, I mean, you let the editor do the stuff, but she goes back. coloring and we have the special effects or and stuff like that. It's all so Kaylee watches all that, and they're very she's very particular. So I don't bother her. That's her thing. I stay a lot on the business side. I look at the overall picture and say, this is what I see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about releasing a picture like yours. When you're focused on the music, we know that. So there's a musical component that makes this film appealing. Are there what did you have to do? I mean, it's not like you could go to film markets in the last several months.
Okay, so it's a very I think it's a universal story. I think it can be told, and but I think there are elements that I don't know. It depends on the market, right? I think it would be it in the Asian markets it probably do really well. I mean, I honestly like every time I think it would do amazing even in the American markets, but such a the international films. People don't like to take on international films. It's a risk, especially with it's got it's not in English, and so subtitles is not always a favorite. And marketing is a big thing, and people,
Yeah.
it's such a small film that big distributors don't want to spend a lot on marketing. They'll spend some, but
Mhm.
I think that we would do theatrical is what everybody loves, right? We all want theatrical, but the cost to do theatrical is very expensive. I mean, unless you have like, a Marvel, like the Disney Marvel type movies, or even other ones that that can, get what people out to the theaters. But I think that it can do just as well in like on many like it's on Amazon now. It's not on Netflix. So it's on YouTube, Amazon, Verizon, Redbox. I think it can do really well, and I don't know where they are now, but with the numbers, but it's marketing and getting people out to see it because once they see it, it's they would
Yeah,
share
you
it.
just breezed by a lot of stuff though, because I want to acknowledge though it's not easy to get on all those platforms. So the things that you're saying, oh, I think it's a pretty universal story. Well, clearly it is universal enough that Netflix said yes, that
Yeah.
Amazon said yes, that you got it in Redbox. Those things, for our audience are not
Yeah.
those aren't easy hurdles to clear.
No,
And
I think
so
we picked a good we picked Indican. We went with Indican as our distributor, and they've been great. Like when I saw that it was coming out on like these bigger platforms, I was like, "Oh my God." I just, we weren't expecting it. We always hope for it, but we
yeah,
weren't expecting. So it made it really easy to start in our smaller network of our friends and family saying, "Hey, the ones that didn't get to see the
yeah,
premiere, like here it is." And so and now we're just focusing. I think next month we're going to focusing because Kaylee's been busy with her film festival in September, so we haven't really focused too much on our marketing, at least from our side. I mean, Indican is doing their side, and but we're gonna get in there and really start pushing it out because we would love to get this viral where people are like, "What is this movie?" Like, I
yeah.
got to check it out.
Special.
On Amazon for $9.99, like it's $10, like $6 to rent. And we're all stuck at home anyways, so everyone's having a movie night. And it's the perfect time for this kind of film to get out because everybody is looking for content. I'm looking for content to watch constantly. There's not enough movies for me to find, like there's not enough new movies around right now
So the
to get.
timing did you guys pretty good favor.
I think so for what happened. This
Yeah.
wasn't. Yeah, I think
You
so.
couldn't plan for it.
I think so.
Definitely
Yeah,
not 5 years ago.
no, yeah, yeah. I think it is for us because we will do much better than theatrical. I mean, unless they're going to spend millions of dollars on marketing for us, which it wouldn't happen. So
Yeah. I think you guys did great. I mean, this is such an amazing. I know we're kind of going way inside, but it's such an amazing story for the process and the fact that you guys were able to, first of all, pull the money together. Then it wasn't enough money, you had to get more money. And then all of the things that you have planned for, everything I'm sure escalated. And then you finally got the movie in the can. You get into post, and then post is a protracted period, and then you're figuring out things about the way that you want to tell the story. that elongate the process. And what comes out the other end is what you wanted from the very beginning, which was a beautiful picture that tells a story that's, that's universal.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys knew, but so last it was about a year ago, the film was nominated by Cambodia to be in the we were in the running for the Oscars, the Academy last
Oh
year.
boy.
So this past year. So we were listed in the international category with I think 93 other films.
Mm.
And so then they had to narrow it down to like 10, but we didn't make it, but we did, but we are, we were the film for that year to represent Canada to try to get there in the academies. But but
Wow.
it was pretty big for us too to get picked in to be the sole film to be up for a possible academy. So, but
That's tremendous. First film. Come
first
on.
film. Hey, I mean, we're so close. I wanted to be like, be there and be like, I was getting my speech ready. I'm like, it's our first film. But Kaylee, she said I was crazy. So Kaylee is she says she's the more realist in between the two of us. I'm the more optimistic. I guess she says like insanely optimistic. And so when I keep on saying like, no, we're going for this, and she's like, okay, like, sure, Neardey. I'm like, you never know.
Well,
But
the insanely optimistic allow films to get made. Even the pragmatic have to acknowledge that if you hadn't been insanely optimistic, then when she came back to you and said, "Guess what? 40's not enough,"
yeah,
she really needed your insane optimism right then.
yeah. We're a good balance. I think she
That's
she
awesome.
brings me back to normal. And I keep going after those big things. So
Hey, how old was Neck Ben?
I want to say around 10. Kaylee would know better. I don't even know how old he is. I want to say he's around 10 years old.
He did a hell of
Because
a
a lot of
job.
the little kids there, they look younger, but they're actually older. Some of them. But yeah, that little girl though, that
Yeah,
she was a
she was
little
awesome.
fireball.
Yeah.
And it was like trying to control her, but her personality just really came out, and that was like a little bit. She did great.
I'm sure the challenge of trying to corral her is a lot better than the challenge of trying to manufacture charisma from somebody who wasn't bubbling over. So
Yeah,
that
yeah.
was a great
No,
casting find.
I think that was, yeah, Kaylee loved her. And then I think the other director is the one that worked with her, but she's the younger ones are always a little bit of a challenge anyways in general to work
Sure.
with younger kids. So but she just had that fire in her, but it came out on the screen. So
Yeah.
but yeah.
I would say that this achievement, I hope you guys do have a tremendous amount of viral success, not only for the financial success of the film, but for the education of the viewership.
Thank you.
I'd love for people not only to enjoy this film, but to learn from it. Where do you go from here as a producer? And where does Kaylee go from here as a director? What stories do you tell after hitting a home run like this one?
We have a lot. So, I mean, we have a lot of projects that are, Kaylee's getting ready to I don't really know if I'm allowed to say anything, but I mean, she's writing a new script. It's a horror story. So
But you're
that
going
one
to continue together.
yeah. We're partners. We're partners, but sometimes we have our own, I was talking about another project that I have. It's a it's a passion project for me. I'm doing a story on a former Redskins player, and it's based off a true story about Sean Taylor.
Hmm.
So there's a lot of different stories. There's some stories about sexual assault, like, another true story that we're looking at exploring. um, so Kaylee actually wrote this one. So Kaylee wrote my Sean Taylor story. I'm actually in development now. I got the editor, doing my script, finalizing the script, and then we're gonna start pushing it out. So that one's a really big project. And then so Kaylee's working with me on that, but we're partners. The other one that she's doing, which is I think it's Cambodian based as well, that she wrote and she's directing as well. I don't know the timeline for that, so I'm not producing that one. But we have I want to say we have like I have like 5 or 6 projects that are sort of I'm trying to prioritize. Once I push the Sean Taylor one out, I'll start working on the other ones too.
Terrific.
Once you've shook down all your friends and family for money to produce your film and delivered, you must have a bunch of burgeoning, investors in your queue now. I mean, obviously you can go out wider and get money more easily being, a very bad word.
This is the challenge I think with I definitely open up my networks with people, and that's great. So I network a lot. We're all there's a lot just so I have people that I'm starting to collaborate with a little more, and so that's a big part of it. Um, it's always the stories. The stories is like the challenge is trying to tell the story that you want versus trying to tell the story well that people want to put money towards. And trying to find the balance of telling that story that you want or just selling it in a way that where they're going to take a chance. So I don't know if we're there yet where I have investors like flooding at me, but um but having a pretty good film, to us, under our belt does help. I mean, it's like a resume, right? You build that resume. I think the Sean Taylor story is more of a universal story, and I actually have a lot of people waiting to see that script. So, but it does help saying, "Hey, I have this film that almost went to the Academy," so and that's available now. So it does help. For them to go see here, this is what we've done, and it helps us.
It's a big difference between I'd like to be a filmmaker and I am a filmmaker.
Yes,
So
I can say I've done a film.
yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah, and I mean, even if the end product is not the financial success and huge hit that it deserves to be, as is the fate of a lot of good films, you have what is at the very least a solid base hit that anybody
yeah,
can refer to and go, okay, well, here's what we know. You're going to get the movie done,
yeah.
and and the level of quality is going to be there. So that's
Yeah, somebody said that to me and they're like,
you're not feeling that yet.
"Congratulations." I don't
Yeah.
know. I guess so okay, so here's the difference. I'm not actually like a filmmaker. I the way I came about and went into this because Kaylee's a filmmaker. She went to
Uh-huh.
film school. She's got a master's.
Where'd she go
I'll
to
tell
school,
you,
by the way?
she went to Chapman.
Okay.
So she went to Chapman
That's Pete's
University.
neighborhood.
Oh, yeah, yeah, it's orange. But she came to me with her thesis, which I don't know if you guys got a chance to review or ever seen her thesis, but she did a thesis called Paulina. It's 30 minutes long about a gambling addiction. And that filmed it. And so she came to me at her senior year and said, "Hey, do you want to help me raise money for this?" And so, it was like 20,000 or something like that, short film. I was like, "Oh, okay." Like, and I had no idea. Like, I'm over here doing IT work. So, by the way, I do IT security for the government, full time. Um, but yeah, which people don't know. Film people don't know that I do IT work. They're like, "Wait, you do what?" So I help her raise money, and then she goes, "You're actually really good at this. Like, this is what producers do." And I was like, "Oh, is that what producers? So when you get titled like that, that's kind of just like, yeah." And I was like, "Oh." So I went to Amazon. I bought like these books. It's like on my shelf somewhere. How to be a producer, or production design. Not production design, production, producing everything like about film. And I started self teaching at that point, and I was like, "Okay, what do I need to do?" And I didn't go to film school. Like I'm literally just learning. So when we completed the film, and so Kaylee was like, "We should start a production company," and I'm over here like, "Yeah, okay, let's do that. That sounds fun," and that's what I did. And we've self taught. Like I've self taught, and so when we did the film, someone said, "Congratulations, this is it's," and I'm like, "Oh, thanks." And like it's like a really big thing, right? Like to complete a film.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, like yeah, yeah,
It's
sure.
just kind of your
So
MO. No, that's a big league base hit.
yeah, so I think it's still sinking in.
Yeah.
What we've really done for me. It so
Yeah. You
let's
stepped
see.
into the batter's box, you saw a 90-mile-an-hour fastball, and you hit it over the second baseman. That's what you did. So Congratulations on that. And like I said,
Thank you.
I mean, we are hoping that this film is the financial success that it deserves to be. But whether it is or not, it's clear that your ability to deliver quality exists, and your choice of stories to tell is terrific.
Thank you. No, thank you very much. Appreciate that.
That's not a very open-ended
I know.
question, but
I know.
you know,
Yeah, no, it's
deserves to be said.
thank you. No, I really I'm humbled by, everybody's response to the film, and it's pretty, you just never know. You never know how people are going to respond, and it's been quite a journey. So,
Wow.
yeah.
Where are you guys physically? Where is this production company based?
Virginia. So it's
Mhm.
I live right outside of DC. So in Virginia, everything is here, but Kaylee's in California. So everything
Oh,
we do is, I mean, everything we do is completely virtual.
is
Yeah.
she, or are you able to entice her to tell stories about the drama on the Beltway?
The drama. Oh yeah, there is one. There is one story that somebody has come to us about doing. It's about the Obamacare. So we have like
Mm.
having inside stories on that. So yeah, there's a lot of stories. Everybody, and let me tell you, like once you do a film, I think, and then you put producer or on LinkedIn or something. I don't know. I started getting emails and messages, and everyone's like sending their script, and it's like I don't have time to read any of this stuff. Like I don't, like I still have our stories that we're trying to tell, but there are like I love my background is in political science, so the whole there's a
Okay.
lot of interesting things in politics, so that I'd love to explore at some point.
We had recently done an episode with a winemaker who's got a company here in Sonoma, and they make beautiful wines. That's an upcoming
Ooh.
episode. But before that, he was a quote unquote filmmaker. He got an MFA in film from NYU, which led to a job on the Disney lot. He had a guy he worked for who had a first look deal with Disney. So he was just like, he had a parking spot at Disney. They had a bungalow, all the stuff that you want Hollywood
Mhm.
to do for you. And in 5.5 years of working on the Disney lot, he read scripts, and he said that, every once in a while when he'd read a script, it would be a good one. So he'd read 10, he'd find one good one, he'd hand it to his boss. His boss would put it on the shelf. His boss would read a bunch of scripts, he'd filter one out as good, and he'd hand it to his boss, and all the way up the chain. And he did the math, and he said, by the time we would get a picture made, I would have had to read 10,000 scripts.
Yeah.
So, in a 5.5 year career of being salaried at Disney and, making a nice living,
Uh-huh.
he made 0 movies.
Wow.
So now put that accomplishment of having the movie that you made be what it is into perspective. There are teams of people who work on big motion picture production company lots who spend years in a career not ever making a movie.
Yeah. No,
There you go.
so and that is the difference between, like, I think with indie filmmaking versus going to something like something bigger into a bigger studio, because they that was my big thing, and it still continues to my thing, to own my own production company, to tell the
Mm,
stories that I want to tell. I can take We can probably take our Sean Taylor story and bring it to a studio somewhere, and they might pick it up. Maybe they might pick it up, but
yeah,
I don't want to compromise the story, and I feel like nobody can tell it the way we want to tell it, and I so I keep a lot of our stories close to home, and it's the only thing that I'll probably do for the rest of my life. Like I'm going to be very particular about how and what we tell.
I am
Um,
very excited
yeah,
for speaking for the movie going public. I'm very excited that you are going to be that guarded with the stories that you want to tell. Because you're
yeah,
right, it's one of those things where it could be just a great script that you wanted to make that ends up in a big pile of scripts at a
Yeah,
studio.
I just don't think that I don't think that somebody can take a story, take a story and tell it the way that it should be unless they're connected to that script. And even if I have a story that I want to tell, they might, if I give that to somebody, they won't do it the way I want. I really, maybe I have to have that control and say, no, that's not how it, this is not how it should be told.
Is
So.
there a goal line for your movie making? Like, do you have a plateau that if you reach it, you go, well, I'm gonna have to give up that IT gig?
Oh yeah, yeah. No,
Okay.
I'm very
You
close
don't
to
have to,
giving
you
up.
have to say what
I'm
it is, but
I mean,
but
like
you're close. Yeah.
number wise,
Yeah, you don't have to say the number, but
no,
there is one.
I'm close to it. I'm close to giving
Yes.
up. Yeah, I'm close
Yes.
to being. Yeah, I've been talking about going. I'm doing movies for a while. For the time being, obviously, like I've got 4 kids, so I'm
Yeah.
married with 4 kids, and so I can't exactly give that up. But I've made it work so far, and I'll continue to make it work doing what I want to do. But I'm getting close to letting go of the IT. I'm
Wow.
hoping within a year.
Okay.
So, and then I'll focus on, I mean, and then I have goals of how many movies I'm trying to release, every year.
It's also
So,
hilarious that you made this incredible movie in your part-time job.
Yeah.
and yeah, I left my husband. So, do you guys remember? Oh no, you guys remember? You're in California. There was a huge storm on the East Coast in 2016.
Uh,
Um, so I went to Cambodia, left my husband with my kids, and they were very small at the time, so they're a little
wow.
bit bigger now. So I left, but in my defense, I had my mom come stay at the house for the weeks that I was going to film, but yeah, and
That
so
helps.
yes, I hope but I did that. I just took off work. Like I'm gonna take 2 weeks of vacation. I left for Cambodia and was there for the filming.
I want to make sure we capture this too in the show. Ellen Wong was fantastic. In general, all
Oh
of the
yeah, she's
actors were great. Her uncle, who
yeah.
kind of shepherds her along. I love that guy. I want to meet that guy and hang out with him. He was such a
Oh
beautiful
yeah,
soul.
he's good. And he's a doctor, by the way. He's a doctor that's not necessarily an act that wanted to act. He came in and did that. And did an amazing job.
Well, let me just say this too for the audience too. Watch In the Life of Music. Get it on Amazon or whatever. If you want, look in the show notes. The Amazon link is there. It's a $5 movie. You're looking for something to watch. This movie is gorgeous. It's gonna grab you emotionally. It's just it was such a treat to do this homework, that you guys created for me. I loved it. I loved every second of it. I started watching parts of it again just to work on show prep and everything. But it's just such a great movie. I really appreciate you guys for doing this. And it's I've seen all of the American stories over and over and over again. I'm always glad to see another great movie and everything, but there's it's just so real and such a great representation of humans and how they deal with things and how much music is a part of how we all represent where we're from and how much we love it.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on here and sharing our story. Seriously.
Yeah, it is our pleasure for sure. And for the audience, believe me, you'll be moved, and you will not. There's not a better place to spend your entertainment dollar. We encourage the consumption of independent film in general. We can encourage the consumption of films that have to do with music in general, and we have always encouraged the type of films that give you some new cultural awareness or a depth of understanding of your neighbors, whoever they may be. And I think that you guys did a great job of doing all of that for everybody. So I
Thank
think
you.
we're really excited to see what you do next. And will you keep in touch and keep us posted and let us
Yeah.
help you push out whatever it is you're interested in telling?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We'll definitely keep in touch. I think I have your emails and yeah, sure.
Perfect.
And then
Okay.
for everybody to hear, we're gonna close out with the title track from In the Life of Music. Thanks for everybody listening in. This will be on the podcast as you guys will hear it. Thank you, everybody.
បានឃ្លាតទៅឆ្ងាយខ្វល់ខ្វាយនឹងស្ដាយពុំមានពេលឡើយអោបានដំបងកងកម្មវាសនាដែលខ្ញុំប្រាថ្នា